Okay, going to make a final test on the auto clutch. If you've never ridden with the auto clutch, one of the rules that you learn quickly, if nobody tells you, which nobody told me and I learned quickly, is the auto clutch takes away any compression braking that you have. So on 2 strokes like this bike, it's almost negligible anyway. On 4 strokes where you do use compression braking, it'll be gone. So what that means is you can put the bike in gear, that's in first, and roll it around like it was in neutral. It'll feel a little bit tighter than neutral, but sometimes you won't be able to tell the difference if you're on the trail and riding and not thinking. So always make sure you're in neutral when you start the bike. And because if you start the bike in old two-stroke style like I do, kick the starter and give the throttle a blip, the bike will just leave. So, and that's happened to me before. That's how I know. So I always click first and then click neutral to make sure I'm in neutral, make sure the bike rolls nice and easy before I start it. You can always pull the clutch into, I guess, just as an extra precaution. Okay, I set this bike to idle about 1200 RPM or so. That's what it ends up at. And you want to get that set before you put your auto clutch in, because the engagement is based on engine RPM. So make sure you're jetted good, make sure the idle's set right. Okay, so here we are in neutral. We'll let the RPM drop all the way back down, because if you pop a gear while the RPMs are high without the clutch without the clutch lever pulled in, the bike will leave. So click first. There it is. It's idling. Revlock says you should have a slight pull to the bike, that you can feel the engine trying to drive the bike forward just a little bit. So on flat ground here, I can feel kind of the tension every couple seconds or so. I can feel a little bit of a pull. It's nothing that your legs shouldn't be able to stop by putting some tension on your legs, they say, though. That's normal. That's where you want it. That means it's adjusted about right. So we'll raise the RPM a tiny bit, and the bike drives. Brake. Obviously, you didn't use the clutch. We can pull the clutch in, though, with that little spacer that I put in. You can pull the clutch in, wrap the engine, and the bike doesn't leave. So if you let the clutch out while the RPMs are still high and it's in gear, again, the bike will leave. So make sure it's just kind of a little bit of a thinking that you get used to. So we're at idle, let the clutch out, we're still in gear, you can twist the throttle and we'll drive. So we'll come out here, brakes, stop, bike's still idling, obviously didn't pull the clutch in, still in gear, 1170, about 1200 RPM. Shift without the clutch, go to second. We'll stop in second. He'll drive away in second. See, there's the old habit of pulling the clutch in. So I can let the clutch out. Stop. 5 miles of hell did that to my lever. Had nothing to do with my sucky riding skills. There I am, grabbing the clutch again. Don't have to. Now, as far as the adjustment of this goes, that should be neutral. No, thought it was in neutral, it was in second. As far as the adjustment of this auto clutch goes, there's some fine-tuning you can do with the clutch itself. There's 6 screws on one side that hold springs in. Each of those 6 screws holds springs. And those springs are springs that keep the clutch, the 2 clutch plates together. That's the spring tension on them. It actually pulls the plates together like this. So if you have all 6 springs in, it'll take more RPMs, more throttle, and what that means is more centrifugal force to separate the clutch plates to engage the automatic clutch. If you take out 2 of the springs, that's even less tension. If you take out 4 of the springs and just leave 2, which Revlock says you can do, that means it'll take negligible RPM to start that clutch plate expansion and get engagement. So with just 2 screws in, with 2 springs in, it would just take a tiny bit of throttle, tiny bit of RPM, and you get a much more positive engagement. With 6 springs in, it's going to take more power and more throttle to get that engagement. And that's something you can use to sort of fine-tune the gap without adjusting the gap anymore.